interesting. Ragnow is, he was like considered the best center in college football when he was at Arkansas. When he came to the Lions, he immediately moved to guard. He was drafted, and we heard from moment one that the intention was to make him a guard. But now he's playing center, and he was in OTAs yesterday. Time to experiment. Frank Ragnow at center, Graham Glasgow playing right guard, which is intriguing because that is the vacated spot from TJ Lang. And I wonder how much this has to do with Terrell Crosby. Is he more comfortable at maybe the left guard spot? Are they trying to groom a spot for him? I feel like the veterans are defined. I don't think Joe Dahl is suddenly going to become, or Kenny Wiggins suddenly become an above-average guard. But when you have a player like a Terrell Crosby, who was named Pac-12 Offensive Lineman of the Year when he was at Oregon, and he's still relatively young, former seventh round, wasn't he a seventh-round pick?
Crosby?
Yep.
Yes, I believe so.
Are they doing it for him? Are they doing it because Bo Benchwall is more comfortable at left guard? Is that why they're doing it? The undrafted free agent that they got out of Wisconsin, which came as a real surprise that he went undrafted. Is maybe that what this is about? Well, I'm pretty sure, I thought he was the right guard last year at Wisconsin, but let me go look.
I do remember that when Travis Swanson was here, he was the center, right? And they had Glasgow as the guard, and Glasgow was decent. He didn't look out of place. He looked pretty good at guard. This is something, I suppose, if you want to go back and look at that, does this make sense that Ragnow is a better center than he is a guard? That's what it has to tell me. Because if you're just going to move him there because you want to, I don't know, get a little bit better at right guard, it doesn't make any sense. You better be a lot better at center and then better at guard. You drafted Ragnow in the first round for a reason, right? And you played him all his rookie season at left guard. This is interesting. It's really interesting of what they're going to do, because obviously it's going to shake up the entire line well, not the entire line, but it shakes up the interior of the line. We got new people playing different positions here. So it better mean that Ragnow is outstanding at center, which is why he was drafted, which is why everybody thought that the Patriots were going to take him after the Lions. You know, remember that when he was drafted, everybody said, well, the Patriots wanted a center. Seems like the Lions doing a lot of things to prevent the Patriots from doing what they wanted to do, I guess. But if Ragnow's great at center, let him play center. I know Glasgow can play guard. I'm fine with that, but it still doesn't solve the problem with another guard position. Is it left? Will Glasgow play left guard? Will he play right guard? I don't know.
Well, Benchwall, for people who are wondering, played primarily at right guard at Wisconsin. So, you know, you're talking about a guy who, if they're moving Glasgow to right guard, it's not to make way to put him in his native position, if you will, in Bo Benchwall. How much difference there is, I mean, you could talk to offensive linemen. I guess we could ask Jansen. I know that he says the difference between right tackle and left tackle, you have to invert all your footsteps and all that. But this isn't about opening up a spot for opening up the natural spot for Benchwall, if that's what, you know, and that's one of the thoughts I had. Do you think Ragnow, they just didn't want the rookie making calls, maybe? You know, the center being in charge of the offensive line, always barking out defensive fronts and whatnot.
I don't know.
Just take that off his plate?
I don't know. I have no idea why they wouldn't have done it earlier. Maybe they thought that let's take a look. Priority would be, maybe the priority was at the guard instead of the center, and they thought, let's put him over there. If nothing else, what they know is they've got a versatile player, right?
Yep.
And again, that's what the Patriots love. This could just be an experiment, too. Dave
totally
Burkett wrote about it and said, look, this could just be them kicking the tires and trying some different things, which is where you can do this. You can do this in OTAs, and really what matters is what happens when you get to training camp. We'll see. I like that they're experimenting, that they're trying to find solutions to what could be perceived as a big problem on this team, and that is switching around the guards.
If you had to guess right now, the opener, right now, if you had to make a guess, who is starting game one at Arizona at the other guard spot? And you know, Ragnow or Glasgow, who knows who's going to be when this all settles down. Who would you guess is going to start at the other guard spot? And maybe we shouldn't dismiss, they could always go get a free agent center and play both Glasgow and Ragnow at guard.
My gut tells me that Glasgow plays center, Ragnow plays left guard, and the right guard, which is the open position now, before this report comes out, will be occupied by, I'm going to go with Wiggins.
Okay. I think it's going to be occupied by a free agent. I think they're waiting for the guy to drop to them. I think they're waiting for the Gerald McCoy of interior offensive linemen to become available. Kang, who do you think, if you had to bet right now, Arizona, opener, who's that third interior offensive lineman? Do you think it's a guy on the roster? Do you think it's a rookie? Do you think it's a free agent?
I think it's Tyrell Crosby.
Do you?
I think they really like his versatility. I think when it's all said and done, he will be the guy. But I think he plays right guard. I think they're just experimenting right now. I think Glasgow plays left guard and Ragnow plays center, where he probably should play. I mean, you said it already, Doug. He was the best center in college football coming out of the draft. I think he'll do very well in the NFL. Maybe they just wanted that year under his belt to get used to, not just the game, but just the transition of NFL life. And I think the Crosby will be the third guy there.
It's funny, if Crosby gets it or Ben Schwal gets it, that's encouraging because they beat out some veterans who probably at best are average. Like I can't, when a guy's been in the league for a while, don't you feel like he's defined? Whereas when you're going with a young guy, you hope the ceiling's high and that they're going to get better, and they've shown enough that, I've talked about Ben Schwal and his chances to be a starter for this team. Yeah, I buy into that.
Well, I would too normally, but he went undrafted, which I still cannot comprehend. This guy was a really good offensive lineman in college football, and I don't know why he went undrafted.
Seems so weird.
So because there's that disconnect with me, I just can't. I mean, normally I would say, yeah, I think this guy absolutely should be there, but the undrafted part has me thrown all off.
What's weird is if had they taken him in the 4th or 5th round, I think the answer would be easy. I think all of Detroit would think it would be Ben Schwal. But because he went undrafted, everybody questions. Now, what the hell is going on here? Why didn't this guy get drafted? And look, I'm not going to say more often than not, but frequently the teams were right. It wasn't that the Lions passed on him. It's that everybody passed on him. And then we'll get to the point where, 2 years from now when he could get released and we'll go, oh, well, that's why. That's why. The teams knew it all along. All right, that's what's going on out of day one of OTAs and watching the beat writers seeing the pictures and realizing that Ragnow was at center and Glasgow was playing some right guard. Interesting as they try and sort out one of the bigger question marks early here in the 2019 practice sessions, if you will, getting ready for the season. Okay, NFL insider Peter King went around and asked football insiders if you could change one thing about football to make it better, what would it be? He got 25 responses. We're not going to read them all. We have a selection of those that we think are the best because some of them are things like, have the pensions kick in earlier for players or stuff like that, which I don't think resonates at all with the fans, but very well with the players, and I get it. But there's stuff that you may care about and you may think is a great idea or a terrible idea. Some of these you may like. You may have one that's better than all of these. We'll get to that today at 10:32. It's Karsch and Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket.